Welcome to A Course in Business Miracles. This is Heather Dominic, creator of businessmiracles.com and founder and leader of the highly sensitive entrepreneur movement. Join me today for some genuine practical assistance and a business-altering and life-changing experience, a business miracle. This is A Course in Business Miracles, episode number 75. HSE feature with speaker and singer Stephanie Bonte-Lebair. Welcome to the Business Miracles HSE feature episode. I am just so thrilled to be featuring Stephanie Bonte-Lebair as a member of the Business Miracles community and as a successful, highly sensitive entrepreneur. Stephanie, aside from being a valued member of the Business Miracles community, is a voice coach, lifelong musical theater and opera performer, and award-winning sales trainer. She not only coaches singers and speakers to use their voice with more power and impact, but she works with entrepreneurs on sharing their voice and message in a way that helps them build their business and make a bigger difference in the world. Stephanie is an award-winning certified level 3 trainer of Bank, a personality profiling system that has been scientifically proven to predict buying behavior. She combines her knowledge of the voice, stage experience, and years building her own business to help entrepreneurs and salespeople connect more powerfully with prospects and land more sales. Stephanie is a talented coach, director, and inspirational speaker. She loves to speak to groups of all sizes about how they can leverage their voice to build their business and fulfill their dreams. Her mission is to help others stand in their power and be the voice of their passions. You will want to listen in as I talk with Stephanie about how before she joined the Business Miracles mentoring program, she was in complete overwhelm and the HSE Coping Mechanism of pushing. She had 40 private clients she was seeing every single week, day in and day out, and she was only charging $60 an hour, to now being able to generate $10,000 in one conversation. She was also teaching until 9 o'clock at night and on weekends and had no time for her family, to now having weekends off to spend with her family and do the things she loves. It is such an honor to be a part of Stephanie's HSE journey, and I am so happy to be sharing this episode with you today. Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you, Heather.
I am so excited to be talking to you in this way today. I mean, you and I have had so many different conversations over the years in so many different ways, but I'm really, really excited to feature you and to just really be able to share your HSE success story. So, yay.
Yay. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, great. Well, I guess I would start just by saying, that you are in the Business Miracles Eminence Mentoring Program and that you and I have been mentoring together for 6 years now, which is really amazing and fantastic because whenever I have the opportunity to work with an HSE long term, it really just allows us to be able to go deeper and further and to be able to create and accomplish in a way that is so about acceleration because, there's such an intimacy in terms of what I know about you and how you work best. But if we could dial it back to, 6 years ago and just to remember and give listeners a context to when you and I first met, and most importantly, what about that time had you discovering that you were a highly sensitive entrepreneur, and, what was that discovery like for you?
Well, it's so fascinating how things work, of course, how the universe lines things up. When I was introduced to who you were through a friend, I, at the very same time, was introduced to the world of business networking all in the same sort of day, really.
Wow. I did not realize that.
Isn't that crazy? I just remember doing everything on my own. I was the type of person who felt that I needed to be strong enough to do everything myself, that I could build a business and I could figure out how to run a business and what I needed to have a business, and just figure it out and just do it. And I was very independent, and I always have been a very independent person. And I've always, I think, learned how to cope with my highly sensitive nature, although I didn't call it that. I didn't even know that I was a highly sensitive person until I met you. But right. I just knew that I had to, I believed that I had to push through. I had to figure it out on my own. I had to just do what all of the, coaching programs that are out there and the things you see on social media, that if I just did more and I focused harder and all of these things, I could have what I wanted. And so the very day that I was introduced to business networking, my very first business networking meeting, I was introduced to one of your students, Rebecca Zook, and she was talking about how she had this business coach. And I was like, what's a business coach? I had no idea.
Amazing.
And so isn't that crazy? And so she sends me, she writes down your name and phone number or email. I think it was your website address or something, and said, go take this test. And so I went to your website and I was fascinated by this test. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot of things in here that are resonating with me and make me think about when I was younger and some of the struggles that I had as a highly sensitive child, not knowing why I was different or why people didn't see me the same as they saw their peer groups, and why I struggled. And then, of course, I had an onboarding call, and I was like, oh, my gosh, this is exactly what I need, and I didn't even know I needed it. So the universe helped me meet the right person at the right time to introduce, the fact that, hey, this is why you're different, and you might want to not do this all by yourself. And hence, I've been with you for 6 years, because it's a choice. It's a choice to be on the journey of entrepreneurship with the support that I need as a highly sensitive entrepreneur, and to be on the journey of growth in a community of people who get me, where most of the world just doesn't get me.
Yes, yes. This is amazing. So first of all, I really appreciate that you really emphasize that it is a consistent choice to just, acknowledge and know oneself as a highly sensitive entrepreneur, and a consistent choice to receive support in the process and as part of the journey, because our journey is so unique. And I also really appreciate that you spoke to isolation, because that is absolutely something that we can experience, so frequently as highly sensitive entrepreneurs, whether it comes in the form of that independent streak that you were speaking of, or just hiding how it might look for other HSEs, not really wanting to, quote unquote, be found out. What I find most amazing about this story that I didn't know is that you were introduced to business networking and business miracles all in the same day. And so amazing that's so amazing to me, because one, you are an amazing networker. So I think I kind of always had it in my head that it's just something you've been doing since like the day you were born. And, you are knowing yourself, again, prioritizing yourself as a highly sensitive entrepreneur is also such a part of your journey. So I really appreciate both of these aspects that I just so naturally associate with you. I appreciate learning that it all happened in one day.
Yeah, it's a day that will go down in history, right? It's like the turning point of my life.
Yes, that's really, really incredible. And of course, absolutely, like you said, the synchronicity, or when we're really able to open ourselves up to the way that the universe really is conspiring to work on our behalf. So super cool. Yeah. So appreciate hearing that. now that we know that there was this amazing, poignant day, how would you say that has really made a difference, for you and your business? One, just understanding that you are highly sensitive, and then, two, the work that we continue to do in our mentoring together.
Yeah. And what really has happened is there's been a peeling back of layers where honestly, I think of it almost like the layers that were keeping me from being seen as who I really am in the world. And when you start the journey of working with a mentor and you start the journey of getting yourself out there in networking groups, I learned really quickly what I didn't want. And because I had you to support me along the journey, I was able to more easily identify what was not working so that I could start to make changes as soon as possible. And I remember one of the biggest changes that we started to work on was the fact that I had about, 40 private clients I was seeing every single week, day in and day out. And I was teaching until 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, and on weekends, and I had no time for my family, and I was in complete overwhelm and pushing. I am definitely a recovering pusher, and I was getting sick. I was, I remember frequently being ill. Yeah, it was almost like I would be ill so that I could recuperate and recover so that I could get back and do more pushing. And it was this horrible cycle that I had created. And so one of the first things that we started to work on was raising my rates, reducing the number of clients I had, and starting to set boundaries around what I was willing and not willing to do around my schedule.
Right.
And that was so freeing. It was just so freeing. It was like, oh my gosh, I don't have to teach on Saturdays, even though I have parents who say the only time their student can take a voice lesson is on a Saturday. And amazingly enough, they did not leave my practice. They figured it out. They actually worked their schedule around what I was willing to do. And when I realized that I was in control and that I could absolutely decide what I was going to create, it was magical. It was miraculous. I mean, it was some of the first business miracles that I experienced.
For sure. Absolutely. And I do remember that so well, and really such a beautiful demonstration of that shift from operating from the coping mechanism, like you said, as well as the HSE shadows, right? Like a real sense of that HSE shadow of over responsibility, and then really being able to shift more into your strengths as an HSE in a place of trust. And I would really say, like you just continue to go deeper and wider with that shift. So along those lines, what is a glimpse into, your business now in regards to an example of the growth that has occurred from your willingness to make these kinds of changes?
Yeah, so one of the things that has shifted is I started off my business when I first started with you was as a singing teacher. I was teaching mostly teenagers how to sing. And I have now transitioned a lot of those skill sets into the business world, working with business owners. And I don't work with them one-on-one anymore. Mostly I work in groups. Mostly I have leveraged myself and my time to be in front of groups of people, to be brought in as a speaker, a trainer into organizations and into associations and networking groups even, and allowing myself to share my genius in a much bigger way and be able to also leverage my income differently. So I can, instead of charging, I think I started off at $60 an hour when I was teaching voice lessons. And now it's, you can't really even calculate the hourly rate. It's more about the transformation I provide. It's more about what is the organization I'm going into and how can I help these groups of people do what they want to do to use their voice and be more powerful communicators in the world to grow their businesses. And that has a completely different energy, and it's so much more freeing. And because of that, I also can do more of what I love because I'm a singer first. I mean, I've been singing since I was 3. and I love to perform. So now I have my own a cappella group that we are booking more gigs. We're performing out in public much more often. I was able to write my own one-woman musical called Stage Dreams, and it's a 45-minute, essentially a keynote presentation, really. It's a combination of my own story as a singer and also an inspirational message that I can bring to conferences. And that was born out of, my ability to have the time to do it, number one, to set aside the time to do more of what I love. And I also believe in general that over the last 6 years, there's been a continual message that I've been receiving to tap into my singing to grow my business, that they don't have to be separate things, that you don't have to say, well, over here is this hobby or this thing I like to do, and over here is this business that I've got to work on and grow and do all the right things to make money. But the more that I bring them together, the more that I allow my joy and my talent to be a part of how I find my business clients, the easier it is to do everything that I want to do.
Yes, I would really agree with that. There's been a beautiful integration, and then therefore less of a need to be scattered and operate from a space of feeling scattered, which feeds that HSE coping mechanism of pushing, that we've already mentioned. It's been so incredibly beautiful and powerful. And how would you say this has had a direct impact on your family life? Because you're a mother, you have, a young, beautiful son. And so how has that changed as a result of everything that you just covered?
Yeah, well, and I remember when I first started with you, I believe he was about 18 months old, and now he's 7 going on 8 soon.
Yes,
and,
yes.
I have a lot more time with him and my husband. I no longer work weekends. I can't even remember the last time I worked a weekend unless it was related to like a conference that I attended. Like I have not scheduled any conference in probably 2 years. And I have, my evenings are also much more free. So we even have like Friday night is family night now. So on Friday nights, we decide, are we going to go to a movie? Are we going to go out to a nice restaurant? Are we going to go play at the playground? Like we make choices for the family that allow us to feel more connected through the week. And it is such a wonderful feeling to know that I'm completely in charge of how often I spend time with my family. I am not a slave to my business. And I'm able to create memories while he's in this precious young time in his life that I know he's going to remember forever. So
absolutely,
it's all good.
Absolutely. It's so good. And I think it's so important and valuable to speak to this because so often, within the entrepreneurial world, and definitely, with those who are not highly sensitive, but absolutely when us as highly sensitives are operating under those different types of, business approach and training perspectives, there's this false belief that I kind of have to pound the pavement to make the income. And once I get to that point, then I'll have time to be with my family. And that rarely ever happens, right? Because pounding the pavement always leads to the next phase of pounding the pavement. It becomes a way of behaving and operating that just then becomes repetitious. And especially as an HSE who tends towards pushing. And so if we really look at it, that again, we've been on this 6-year journey together so far. And so can you imagine 6 years of working weekends and evenings and not having that time versus the beautiful description, of how the family operates now? What a difference, right?
Thank God the angels were looking over me. They knew that I could not possibly continue in the way I was continuing, right? It would have been a miserable existence. And, I may have found another business coach along the way, but when you're a highly sensitive entrepreneur, all of them, I haven't ever met one or heard of one that understands what you teach around how we do things differently and how we need to manage our energy differently. We can use our strengths in such a way to create the same results, if not more powerful results, that the other 80% of the population can get, but we don't have to pound the pavement. We don't have to stay up until the wee hours of the morning in order to make it happen.
That's right. It's so absolutely right. And so then let's also talk about, the impact on your income from these changes. How would you say that your income has changed over these years?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I never realized the power that I had in being able to generate income when I'm in my strengths. When I first started off, it was $60 an hour. And even then I was a little nervous that people might think I was a little on the high end for a voice teacher, which I laugh now. I just think, oh my heavens, that's so reasonable. And now I can generate $10,000 in one conversation. And it absolutely blows my mind that I have come that far and that I can have a month where I'm making $10, $20, $30, or $40,000, and it's not that hard. Like, that can happen very easily when I am focused, when I am in my strengths, when I am managing my energy properly, and when I allow myself to step forward in the way that I'm meant to be in the world. And that is a habit that needs practice and it needs to be fed. And, whenever I'm struggling financially, I know it's because I have allowed myself to go into old habits of feeling overwhelmed and pushing too hard and not focusing on the things that are going to make me the most money in the shortest amount of time with the greatest impact. All the things that you teach, right? So when I am in that powerful place, amazing things happen with income. And I've had my first $20,000 year, and I've had my first $20,000, $30,000 month. All of these things have happened because of my ability to be in my strengths.
Very, very well said. And so speaking of shifting those habits, what would you say is one Business Miracles tool that you have found most supportive in that process of developing these new habits, new core practices?
The tool that I'm finding the most helpful for me right now is the assessment tool. So being able to really take a look at every time I go speak or train a group of people and say, okay, what worked well with the situation? What didn't work so well? And what will I do differently next time? I find that tool so powerful in helping me focus in on what I should be doing next. Like, what's the next up level that I need to take? What's the next action that I need to take to stay on track this week? And it really helps take all of the noise and put it to the side, because there are so many potential things that I could be doing during my day. And it can be very, tempting to work on those things that don't really bring in the money, but they're sitting on your desk and they're calling out to you.
Absolutely.
That assessment tool has been really great.
Yeah, and it really keeps us out of that HSE shadow story, right? That's such a key piece of changing that habit, because we, all as highly sensitives have some shared experience of doubting ourselves simply because at some point we recognized that we approach and process the world differently, and we interpreted that to mean wrong. So assessment helps keep us out of that story and focused literally on just what makes the most sense to focus on next. And then that way we can move forward step by step, which I really have so appreciated seeing you hone that skill and step more and more into your own personal strategic strength as well. And so along those lines, it makes me think of, with the development of your own strategic strength and just strengths as a highly sensitive entrepreneur, what do you sense you'll be creating next for yourself as an HSE?
Well, I am very excited to be continuing to build my team. my team of fellow trainers and affiliates that work with me, and stepping into more of a leadership position, even in my business with administrative assistance. So this is an area that I know I've wanted to and needed to start to implement in a bigger way for quite some time. And I'm excited to start to hand things over to other people, Heather, and have them
amazing.
So
amazing.
I'm sure that surprising, wonderful gifts will start to come my way the more that I do this. And I'm going to trust that is the case. And just, allow more people to support me on this journey,
Yes, absolutely. It so is exactly where you're meant to go as part of your own next level. And again, talk about what a difference, right? From 6 years ago, like independent, I don't even need business networking, what's a business coach, to being in this position of, influencing so many other people through your work and allowing yourself to be supported as you do so. Pretty awesome and exciting. It's really great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So where can people find out more about you and the HSE success that you are creating and the amazing service that you're putting out into the world as you do continue to step more and more into your ultimate vision?
Yes, you can find me at empoweryourvoice.com.
empoweryourvoice.com. And I definitely recommend that you look for Stephanie on all social media channels as well, because not only do you receive amazing information, but you also will have an opportunity to receive her incredible personal voice in her singing, because she often shares these incredible clips of her own talent, and it's so inspiring and really delightful, and it's just such a unique aspect of your message and the way that you share it, and it's just such a joy to receive. So definitely find Stephanie at empoweryourvoice.com and all social media channels that you possibly can. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for being a sacred contract, for being on this HSE journey together. And thank you so much for being willing to share your story on today's podcast episode.
You're welcome, Heather. And thank you for all you do for all of the HSEs in your community and those to come.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone. Until next time. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Course in Business Miracles. If you're ready to learn how to use your highly sensitive abilities to support you in being purposeful, profitable, and empowered rather than scattered, poor, and undervalued, take my free self-quiz to find out if you are indeed a highly sensitive entrepreneur. And if you are, along with your quiz results, you'll receive my free HSE Success Guide, which will teach you how to have your highly sensitive abilities working for you to create the results you desire in your business. Take the quiz and receive your free success guide now at www.hsequiz.com.